Should we bring back everybody's favorite segment for Duke?
How bad are they?
Well, Cody, I'm glad you asked. The Duke Blue Devils led the country last year with 39 turnovers in 11 games. And that's another episode of How Bad,
Are they?
Hello and welcome back into another episode of the Fourth and Long-Winded Podcast. This is episode number 15. We're going to be talking about the state of the conference. ACC is our last final conference to talk about. Then we can start really digging into this upcoming season and talk about some other topics that we want to talk about. Cody, how you doing? How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Once again, I have to kind of apologize to everyone that we have been a little infrequent lately. Just some personal stuff. My dad's been in and out of the hospital, so we haven't been able to record all that often.
It's all right. It's still the off season. I don't think we really ever established a normal recording. No. It's always been all over the place. So
yeah.
I don't care. It's all right. All right. Let's talk on a couple of news topics. Obviously the biggest news story is Texas, Oklahoma leaving the Big 12, going to the SEC. I think I will speak for both of us. We both have a ton of thoughts and of things to talk about. So we've decided we're probably just going to make a separate whole episode just talking about Texas, Oklahoma, and the greater impact on the world of college football. We do want to talk about the Big 12 issued a cease and desist to ESPN, which I found, like, Cody's laughing right now. Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's not going to amount to anything. They can't prove anything. But basically, the Big 12 just saying, hey, ESPN, can you stop trying to get all our teams to leave us?
So I have a tiny bit to say, and I think that we'll address it like a little bit further in our Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma leaving kind of emergency pod or whatever we're calling that. But I think it's hilarious. And I think it's hilarious mainly because it's true. Like, this is definitely what
it's
has
100%
happened.
true.
Like, ESPN 100% made this happen. And it's like, no, you can't prove it. But also, like, is it really illegal for them to do that? Like, yeah. I don't know the legalities of it, but man, it's funny. It's really funny.
It's a bunch of powerful people just like using their power, and like the slightly less, I guess, Big 12 commissioner is probably significantly less powerful than the whole of ESPN, but
it was the last
less powerful.
I mean, he's firing shots.
I completely understand what he's doing. He is just trying to save his conference. At this point, everybody's just 100% convinced that the Big 12 is dead, and he's got to do this if he wants to keep his job
and shooting guns.
Yeah. Yep. It's the only option he has, really. I don't really have anything more on that right now. I don't know if you have anything more on that right now.
No, I want to expand on it later.
Yeah, sounds good. We do have one more topic, and it revolves around Bryce Young. I don't know if you saw, he got the $1 million NIL deal.
Yeah.
And he hasn't even taken a snap yet.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think it's crazy. He hasn't played a snap of football. And we're looking at this. I don't remember his name. The kid out of Texas that's going to Ohio State too. Did you see anything on that? Yeah. So he's still in high school. He only needs a single English credit to graduate, and he is taking it. Apparently, is taking that over the summer and is going to early enroll at Ohio State. Because
so he can start making money.
So he can start making money. So it's technically a senior in high school, but he's going to be playing, and it looks like he's going to be able to actually finish his English course in time to be at fall camp.
Yeah,
for OSU, which is I don't
So
know.
was he originally not supposed to be until next year's recruiting class, and he's
Correct.
coming early? Okay.
Yeah, he's already committed to Ohio State, but from what I understand, in the state of Texas, the legislature passed some rules basically stating that if you're in high school, you can't make money off your name, image, and likeness. It was part of a bill that got buried in there, and that basically the Texas high school athletic whatever won't allow him to compete if he's going to be making money off his name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
Basically, many NCAA prior to a month ago. And I saw like some interviews with like the commissioner of the Texas, whatever the hell it's called. And he's like, I mean, it's out of my hands. I would love for him to be able to finish out high school, but at this point, I can't do anything about it. It's been, it's the Texas legislature created this issue. So, and it's not illegal in Ohio. So,
well, it's a part of this whole thing. Like, there's so much difference within state to state that there's so much variability in terms of how this NIL thing can be taken advantage of. And it's going to take a little bit of time for kind of everybody to get on that same level.
Truthfully, I think what needs to happen is there needs to be some federal, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to continue to be a state by state basis type thing. And I think that's honestly a little moronic when we're talking about trying to like create a level playing field, because you're not going to have a level playing field if every state is different.
No. In a lot of ways it already is. Each state kind of has its own, I don't know, that's more that could get into a states rights versus government rights.
I'm not trying to talk about the Civil War.
Nope. But yeah, just kind of wrap up what we started talking about Bryce Young. I don't know if you saw what Nick Saban said. It's the Alabama effect, and I mean, that's such a bigger recruitment tool. Like as if they needed any more recruitment. Like, this guy hasn't even taken a snap, and he's getting $1 million NIL deal. So
wild.
Alabama, rich get richer, poor get poor, I guess. But poor get a slight.
The poor stay poor.
Yeah.
I don't think that, honestly. I mean, these kids, there's no difference. They were going to go to Ohio State or Alabama or these other schools, and maybe down the road we're going to see like a different school. Once Nick Saban retires, take over, maybe not. And those kids, the same 5-stars, are going to go to those good schools. So I don't think that the NIL really makes that much of a competitive difference at this point in time, because they were going to make the money anyways.
I agree. All right. Well, that's really all on news. So like we said, we'll talk more Texas, Oklahoma in a separate episode. So make sure to look for that. But let's get into the state of conference, ACC.
Okay, so we're down to our final conference, and I'm pretty excited to be done with this. It's fun. But I also want to talk about some other stuff.
Yeah.
Not just recruiting and
just like studying each and every team and every single conference.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Don't mind doing it, but it's a lot.
It gets a little monotonous after that.
That's for sure. That's for sure. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, we start with the lowest ranked of this past year's recruiting class. So the 2021 class, they signed in December. For those that don't understand the recruiting classes and complain about us talking about recruiting in June, yes, we realize that we are talking about recruiting in now July. Well, August.
Well, it's August. Yeah,
it's
August.
So
August.
Get over it. That being said, our lowest ranked recruiting class this year is Wake Forest, which I don't remember how low some of the other conferences were, but 66th is where they fell nationally, which is 14th in the conference. That doesn't strike me as being entirely terrible.
I feel like it's kind of roughly where the Big Ten is at. I know Purdue had the lowest recruiting and they were 72nd, I believe. So
Okay.
it's kind of like right in that same ballpark.
Yeah, so like I'm not feeling terrible about this, and honestly, I think Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, the head coach, he's such a player developer. It doesn't really
Oh yeah.
matter. It doesn't really matter what the talent is. I mean, he did a pretty good job his first year there, and the talent there was devoid of it. Like there was no talent at all.
Yeah.
So honestly, Wake Forest is going to maintain what they've been doing. They could potentially step up. I mean, I don't remember. I didn't look into returning players.
They do have a lot of returning players. I think this is going to be basically his last hurrah at Wake Forest, Dave Clawson's last hurrah before he takes a bigger job.
Really?
I think he's done a good job at Wake Forest. They made 5 straight bowl games. I don't know, Wake Forest is, I think I read somewhere that they were like, yeah, worst all time winning percentage among all Power 5 conference teams.
That's pretty awful.
But he's led them to 5 straight bowl appearances. Like I said, last year they set a school record for points per game, 36 points per game. And he's built the team a little bit like he did the BG team, the Bowling Green team, back in the 2010 area, where they are a high flying offense, score a bunch of points, are suspect on defense at times. But this is going to be a good year because they have a lot of returning talent.
Yeah.
They're returning a lot of defensive players, and they're returning every single starter on offense from last year.
So
on offense that set a school record.
86% of their starters are returning this year, and they are ranked 28th in the country for returning power, which is pretty cool. That's really good. I think that solidly means Wake Forest should be. I'm not going to say they're going to be in the hunt for a conference championship, but they're going to be in the hunt to win some fun games and be in most of their games.
They're gonna make a bowl game, and they're gonna win somewhere between 7, and if they have a really good season, I could see them winning 9, possibly even 10 games. But I don't see them getting close to.
I mean, we'll see where they end up, but I don't know. I'm pretty excited to see it.
Should be exciting team to watch, regardless.
Yeah, they should be. I will say that I don't think that Dave Clawson is going anywhere.
That's fair enough. I just think it's a perfect time, as a lot of the guys coming back are seniors, and this is kind of, like you said, he develops players. So he's got these guys that were really, I think, no, I guess it's not his first recruiting class, but one of his first recruiting classes, and I think it's a perfect time to go out on a high note. All these guys that you've been with for the last 4 or 5 years, they're leaving. So instead of starting fresh at Wake Forest, you can go somewhere else and start fresh.
I think it's possible. However, I've heard just from the media that I've seen that he's really happy at Wake Forest.
Yeah, until a Big Ten.
I mean, if Michigan comes calling,
it doesn't even have to be Michigan.
He's going to go to Michigan. But I don't know where he goes from here that he's really going to want to.
He's at the bottom of the Power 5. There's so much he can go so much higher.
But he's a program builder, and he has maintained programs before. And so I just where is he going to go that he can? I don't think he has national championship aspirations.
Texas.
Didn't they just hire Steve Sarkisian?
Nah, never works out.
They're gonna fire.
Do you really trust Steve Sarkisian? Just because he was next to?
But I trust him to be there at least a year or 2. I don't know.
Texas was the first one when he said build a program that came to my mind, and it kind of makes sense. I don't know. It doesn't. Not really.
So I 100. That's something.
It's just going to be a terrible season this year for Texas. Yes, I do. We can run through it.
Yeah.
Start off with a couple pretty easy games. Old Dominion, Norfolk State. They should run through those. Then they get into conference play, playing home to Florida State, which should be a pretty competitive game. I mean, Florida State should have the better talent, but we know what Florida State is right now. And then they play at Virginia, home to Louisville, at Syracuse, at Army, Duke, at North Carolina, NC State at Clemson, at Boston College.
All right. Well, I know they're losing at North Carolina.
At North Carolina, at Clemson, 100% book it as a loss. At Virginia is probably another loss. But outside of that, NC State's probably a loss. Maybe not guaranteed.
Honestly, Virginia and NC State, I think they're in the game.
Yes.
Through the third quarter. If I'm betting on the game, they lose. But I could see them winning. I could see it happening.
You said with Virginia?
Yeah.
I think Virginia is actually pretty decent. So I think Wake Forest is going to be good relative to expectations, more just kind of where they've been the last 5 years. I don't think, like we talked about, they're not going to be a championship favorite. We're not saying anything like that, but they're going to be a solid team, make a bold game. And they're going to put up a fight against, Virginia or an NC State. I don't see him even coming close to North Carolina, Clemson. Those are the two class of the conference. But
no, I don't see
anyone else. They got a shot.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And it actually looks like my notes didn't save. I have all the teams in order, but I don't have their actual rankings. So maybe you can help me out there while I get it pulled up. But
the actual rankings for what?
Like where they're at nationally.
Oh, in terms of recruiting. Okay. Yeah, I can do that. You ready to move on?
Yeah, I think so. I don't have anything else to say on Wake Forest.
The Duke Blue Devils, they're 58th ranked for recruiting class for 2021. So was that 8 spots ahead of Wake Forest. Makes sense that these two teams are at the bottom. I mean, they're probably the two highest academic standard teams in the conference. So makes sense. David Cutcliffe's entering his 14th season as head coach there. He's taken Duke to at least be somebody you don't completely laugh at all the time.
They're not a doormat.
They're not a doormat.
They've been pretty.
They were last year.
They were bad the last few years.
Yeah, they have made an ACC championship game through his run. He took a team that had won just 10 games in its previous 8 years. And he taken, like I said, multiple bowl games, ACC championship. But last year was kind of returning to, it was the lowest number of wins he had in a season since he started. So not great.
I don't know if last year was a fluke. I think that, you get these ebbs and flows. I don't think Duke fires him. No. I think that Duke is pretty happy with David Cutcliffe as long as he wants to be there. Barring 3 straight winless seasons, I don't think that they'll stomach that. But I think not being a doormat is the goal for Duke football.
Duke's one of the few Power 5 conferences where basketball is the number one, clearly.
Yes.
It's not even close how much they care about basketball compared to football.
Yes. UNC is weirdly one of those, but also they're good at football now.
But they've started taking football more seriously.
Much more seriously.
Over the last 5-10 years or so.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have really anything else to say. There's a cool video with Duke's stadium lights where they have those fancy lights that they can turn off and on at an instant. And so they hand out for pregame, they hand out little devil horns that light up blue. So that's kind of neat. But that's all that I really have to say about.
Should we bring back everybody's favorite segment for Duke?
How bad are they?
Well, Cody, I'm glad you asked. The Duke Blue Devils led the country last year with 39 turnovers in 11 games. And that's another episode of How Bad
Are They? Yeah, that's
Thanks for
pretty
joining
bad.
us. Yeah, 39 turnovers. It's closing in on 4 turnovers a game.
Well, maybe they can make it 5 this year.
Maybe. They are starting it might be even worse. I just read my notes. They're starting a brand new quarterback this year, and they have a lot of new faces on the offensive line. So
it's gonna be bad.
They only played 11 games last year. They're guaranteed to play 12. So who knows?
All right. So Our next team, clear in my choice as the worst team in the conference.
That's fair.
I don't know how they're even this high. They're truthfully just bad.
Makes me sad.
I very much said that. Here's my thing about Dino Babers. He can coach good players. Can't do much else.
Well, did he really have? I guess he had good players for the level at BG, but I don't know.
I mean, he had Dave Clawson's remnants, and he led them to 2 straight conference championship games, a 10-win season, and he recruited decently, and then the team fell apart after he left. Well, we blame that on Mike Jinks, but maybe he didn't develop the players that he had that were, the underclassmen, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to Syracuse and did decent in his not good, but decent in his first few years.
They went 10-3 one year.
Syracuse, good for Syracuse. Did okay.
Clemson.
And now he has his own players and isn't developing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, they could be first in the ACC, and I don't trust Syracuse to be winning football games.
Got to be a bounce back year. I think he's gone.
Yeah. And Syracuse was in a bad spot before Dino Babers. He didn't bring them here. They have an administration that they think they're a basketball school, but they're not.
Oh, they're definitely a basketball school.
I mean, they are definitely a basketball school.
It's but not even a question.
But they're not that good at basketball anymore. So it's like.
That's not true. They made the tournament for 20 straight years.
Okay, sorry. I shouldn't say not that good. They are good at basketball. But when's the last time that they were in the Sweet 16? I don't remember when it was.
They made a Final Four 3 or 4 years ago.
I don't remember that.
I do. I care about the college basketball tournament deeply. Syracuse gets in as an 11 seed. The past 10 years of Syracuse basketball is they're hyped at the beginning of the season, then they get into the tournament as an 8, 9, 10, 11 seed, and then they make a run in the tournament. Right. So they always do well in the tournament, and they've been way more successful in basketball than the football team has over the last 20 years.
No, of course. I'm not.
Don't get this twisted. This is a basketball school. Always has been.
I'm not saying anything other than that. But the administration very much knows that basketball is more important than football. But they pretend that football is important. Whereas Kansas and Duke don't really even pretend that football is that important.
You think if Donovan McNabb never went to Syracuse, they'd ever care about?
I don't know.
About football. That's really the only time. That's the only thing I think of when I think Syracuse football is Donovan.
McNabb. They had some good years in the Big East. They were a solid team in the Big East.
Yeah.
Not an.
But that was the Big East. That was the Big East when it was really just Miami.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's definitely.
Did you know this? In my research, did you know that they had so many injuries on the offensive line last year that they started their fullback at left guard for a handful of games? So it's not completely Dino Babers' fault. It's not completely their fault that they.
Well, so maybe he needs to hire some strength and conditioning guys.
Maybe.
To develop the players.
It's never good when you have to start your fullback at left guard. That can't be confidence fueling as a quarterback.
Well, if they had better strength and conditioning and development, maybe
you don't know that. They could have just been freak injuries. They rolled over a referee and broke their spleen. So when you have
freak injuries, what do?
Freak injuries?
Yeah. When you have a bunch of them and they're all happening in a row, what is the solution?
Fire the medical staff, get a new one.
I mean, you could do that, but also just try to figure out why it's happening. And generally it's because they're not conditioned or developed well.
I blame it on the turf and the Carrier Dome or whatever.
Okay.
The Syracuse. Is that what the Syracuse Stadium is called?
Okay. So, yeah. Well, not to worry. They recently replaced the roof, and I believe they replaced
thank God.
as well. So
I think is so
Yeah,
old.
maybe those injuries will go down and Dino Babers will be able to win 3 games.
Maybe.
Sorry, I'm shitting on Dino Babers because I blame him for.
I will always love Dino Babers because that was.
I got some really fun years.
Fun memories, man.
Fun memories watching him at Bowling Green. I also blame him for Bowling Green's downfall. So
understandable.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say on Syracuse. We've talked too long about them.
Nothing interesting in their schedule either, so we can move on.
The next team we got is Georgia Tech. Where did they fall?
48th ranked class.
I don't know enough about Georgia Tech, if I'm being entirely honest, to make like a snap judgment. I did because now I'm currently flying by the seat of my pants. My notes are just not there. So I guess I'll go off my like general opinion.
Okay.
Are they still trying to do that whole like running
triple
thing
option
that Navy does? Is that what they're still trying? Are they still
they are
trying
not.
that?
So I don't know. They have a new head coach, Jeff Collins.
Yeah.
He's entering his 3rd season.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the first year we're really able to judge how he's doing as a coach there, because this is the first time, one of the first recruiting classes, his first recruiting class, they're getting into their freshman sophomore year. He's had to replace the entire roster that was recruited for one very, very specific type of offense, triple option. So it's he's going to have to let those guys filter out and let the guys that he's recruited for this new, more modern offense that he's trying to build. So they should see improvement this year. If not, it should be the first time to really judge how he's doing as a head coach. I don't think the last 2 seasons count.
I think it serves Georgia Tech well to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know why they were running the triple option, because triple option is for teams that can't recruit big guys, can't recruit fast guys, and so they need to spread it out and move in different directions. And I don't know why they were doing it. I mean,
He's their head coach.
I do know
their head coach.
Yeah, I get it.
That's what Paul Johnson liked to run. So
I get it. It's just like that's what they're known for. But they're in Atlanta. They've got like an incredible recruiting base. Like if you're in Atlanta, you shouldn't ever win less than 6 games.
Yeah.
Especially at the level that Georgia Tech has been and is at. I would like to see them get better.
I think they will. We'll see after. My final thing is I don't think we can say anything right now about Jeff Collins because of what I just said. So I think this year will be the first time to really judge him and see what kind of offense he's looking to run and how the players recruit. How is he recruiting? Is he recruiting the right guys? So they do need to work on discipline though. They were 121st in penalties last year in the country. Not good.
Yeah, penalties
to be more disciplined.
Maybe they need more development.
No, they need more discipline.
All right. Virginia Tech.
43rd ranked class for 2021.
Okay. So we're getting up there now.
So a lot of these are kind of bunched together now up until, obviously Clemson at the top and in Miami. But yeah.
What are your thoughts on Virginia Tech?
I think Justin Fuente is under an immense amount of pressure right now. He needs to have a good season because they've kind of just stalled. They're average team right now, and that's not the reputation that Frank Beamer built for Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is one of the better teams in this conference historically over the last 25, 30 years. They've always kind of been there, but they have not been good. They've been really disappointing.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech fans are really, really loud as fans. There's a lot of them, and I also agree with you. He coming from Memphis, I think is where he was before
we'll look it
Virginia Tech. And if I remember correctly, he's the one that kind of led that revival of football at Memphis, because Memphis was a kind of a bottom feeder prior to his time there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember when Bowling Green played them in the I guess it was the 2014 season. I thought that they were going to beat Memphis. I thought they were going to go into Memphis and it would be a game, but I thought it, be not that great of a game, and Bowling Green would win. And then they ended up losing 77-7. Bowling Green did. So
yeah, that's the year Memphis went 10-3.
Yeah,
2014.
Yeah. And I forget who the quarterback was of that team.
Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
He's a complete bust in the NFL. He started like 5 games. And they were like, get out of here.
That happens. So, all right.
I think that guy, he was the one that was like 6'8" or 6'7".
Yeah, it was big.
Had like a cannon. And that was, I think, why the only reason that John Elway drafted him.
Throw bombs to the end zone. That's all he did.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on Virginia Tech? Or are you ready to move on?
Nope. Unless we want to touch on schedules again at some point, but we don't have to.
I don't. Right. I feel like we can touch on schedules a little later, like for the higher up teams.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
fair enough. Nope, we can move on. Louisville.
I've got them at 39th.
Louisville.
Oh God! If you think Utah fans are bad, we are about to have 1,000.
I know it's Louisville.
Angry. Is it Louisvillians? Louisville?
Yeah. No, it's Louisvillians.
Louisville. We're about to have like 1,000 angry Louisvillites.
Dude, if we have 1,000 angry Louisvillites, then I'm happy because that means we have 1,000 views. So
yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Bring it on, Louisville.
I'm thinking about Louisville. Like, I like Louisville in the way that, they recruit decently.
39th ranked class.
But I think that they have a much higher ceiling than they are currently performing at. They're the only team in town in a relatively large city. If you've ever driven around Louisville, there's Cardinal shit everywhere. Like the bridges are painted red on the interstate. And it's wild. They have a lot of pride for Louisville. And, I think
they have a really nice stadium too.
Really nice stadium. They are a team that cares a lot about basketball, but they care equally about football. And you can tell they care equally about football. I mean, they sell out their 60,000 person stadium easily.
Mm-hmm.
And not, selling out doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win games, but they have a ceiling that's higher. I see Louisville as like a slightly better Baylor of the ACC.
See, I think they should be on a higher level than Baylor is in the Big 12. Just look, 5 years ago, they were like the main threat to Clemson. It was like Clemson was clearly number one.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of Louisville with Lamar Jackson. But even without Lamar Jackson, before that, Teddy Bridgewater, they were a really good team. And it's really just since Scott Satterfield. I'm going to say that one more time. Scott Satterfield is entering his 3rd season, and it's really not gone well. Did you see when he had to write a letter of apology to the season ticket holders because he was trying to get involved with the South Carolina job for some reason?
Yes, he was flirting with that job. It just doesn't. The expectations are much higher than what this team will be doing. And I wouldn't actually mind looking at their schedule.
Okay.
Because I'm interested to see, at the end of the year, are we going to be talking about who the next coach of Louisville is?
I think it's a good chance because they got a pretty tough schedule. They open versus Ole Miss in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium or Arena, whatever it's called, the one in Atlanta. Then they play Eastern Kentucky, but then they play UCF, which will be a tough game.
That'll be a tough game.
Were Louisville and UCF ever in the same conference?
No. maybe
Conference USC?
maybe Conference US. No, I don't think so.
I feel like they would have been in the same conference. Anyway, I feel like UCF would have some motivation going into that game.
Definitely.
And they might even just be the better team right now, honestly.
Yeah, they definitely have the better coach.
Yeah. And then they play at Florida State, at Wake Forest. That's a sneaky, difficult back-to-back.
Yeah.
Then they play home to Virginia, home to Boston College, at NC State, home to Clemson. That's a rough 4-game stretch. That's probably the most difficult stretch in their entire schedule. Then they finish off the season relatively easily. Syracuse at Duke, Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like tougher games in there and like away games at teams that could beat them. I don't know. For me, I don't know what is
they go. That's what I was just about to ask you. If they go 3-9, is he fired?
Yes.
If they go 5-7, is he fired?
Debatable.
That's the line. If he gets to 6 wins, I think he's safe. If he's 6-7 wins,
yeah,
I think he's definitely safe.
But then
anything below 4
next year, anything below 8. Like if he gets to 6 wins this year and anything below 8 next year, I don't see him being there much longer.
I agree. I'm trying to look this up because now I'm curious to see if Louisville and UCF were ever in the same.
Wikipedia has a really good resource for that. It has a graph usually with the conference membership, so you could just look up Conference USA, and it'll tell you when their membership and if they overlapped.
Oh, so they didn't. This is really interesting. Okay, well, no, they were both in the American for 1 year in 2013.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember that.
1 year, 2013, they were both in the American. I'm guessing UCF is UCF was one of the teams that replaced Louisville in Conference USA because Louisville's last year in Conference USA was 2004. UCF's first year, 2005.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, well, I mean,
interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. I'd love to see how many times they've played each other. I'm not going to do that now, but
no,
I'd like to see what the result of those are. So next up we got Boston College, and I feel decently about Boston College. What number are they at?
They are 37th ranked in the country for 2021.
Yeah, I mean that's solidly high. Boston College has been doing a lot of things with player development as well. Like if Boston College doesn't really recruit well, I mean,
it's just that region because they really have that region to themselves.
Yeah.
But that region just doesn't play football. They just don't play football as much.
Yeah.
They play hockey, they play basketball, they play baseball. Like
so like it's much more the area is much more devoid of talent than like Alabama or Ohio or Texas. Whereas if you have access to those areas, you're just going to do better. So that's why like we see the South Carolina is really close to Georgia. I mean, we're seeing those kind of things. And that's why Boston College isn't ever really going to be able to compete unless they, just start spending an ungodly amount of money.
Start like really hyperly focusing on football because they do have I think they kind of pride themselves on being a good athletic program.
Yeah, and it is a solid athletic program. They're good in Olympic sports as well.
Yes.
So and it's an academic school. It's a little bit more of a hoity-toity type. We want smart kids here.
It's all Boston colleges are. That's all, not Boston College. Like all of the colleges in Boston are like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Where do we? The coach is definitely there to stay. He's going to be there a while because like that almost win over Clemson, I think, was enough to like sign him to a lifetime contract.
It almost was because he's at a Colorado State now. Who's their old head coach? A something. Boston College. I don't know.
I don't remember.
He was terrible at the end, and he Hafley Yeah, Halfley. He's come in and he's kind of revitalized the program and made them competitive again. So they've become a legitimate threat, I think, in the ACC. Not to win it.
I would
but
also would not
not to
put them
win it.
in. I wouldn't put them in the championship picture, but I'm definitely like they can beat anybody. If
Yes,
someone has a bad
that's
day,
what I'm
they can
trying
beat
to say. Yeah.
If Clemson has a bad day, they can beat them, and I think that's important.
They have a system that is limited, but it also has a high floor. They run the ball a lot. They focus on defense. So you're going to run into the Clemsons and sometimes give them a scare, but you're also going to be a pretty decent floor team that you're not going to lose a lot of games. So
yeah, he's interesting BGSU tidbit. That's where BGSU's coach was before.
I don't even know who BG's coach is right now. His name has escaped me.
Leffler.
Leffler. Yep. That's not good. Both of us being BG guys, not knowing the BG head coach off the top of our heads. Oh well.
Moving on. We have NC State next.
Yep. 35th ranked class.
We're cracking the top 25.
35th.
I see NC State improving. They have a fan base that wants them to improve. They have been improving consistently across the last few years. Let me look here and see where they fell on the.
They have a lot of returning talent, and they're going to be really deep. This is a team that I think could be pretty scary and could compete with the North Carolinas. Like, I think they could give them a real threat.
I think they give them a threat. I don't think this is their year. I think give it one more year and
that's fair enough.
They're there.
The point is that they're building something really solid there.
Yeah. I think the key to North Carolina State is to start getting some talent guys, which they aren't currently doing, some high level talent guys. Because you look at the teams that are winning the conferences, they're the ones with 4 and 5 star recruits.
Yeah.
And
even Miami, who's been okay at best, it gets 5-star recruits.
Yeah. So. And so I think that's really where NC State needs to build a solid ground, which they're doing, and then win a couple big games, and you're going to see some higher talent.
I agree.
So maybe
I feel like they've always been in a solid defensive team. So they got that heritage, that DNA of a defensive team that you kind of need to be on that level.
I agree. They've always been a decent team. So I think that they are currently better than average.
Yep. I was pretty impressed. One last thing. I was pretty impressed with Dave Doran. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Not 100% sure on that, but they went 4-8 in 2019, flipped that around, went 8-4 in 2020 in a pandemic year with a lot of obstacles. So I think that's a hell of a job.
Yeah, they had an exciting season. They beat Liberty last year. So
yeah.
And Liberty was a solid team.
So they were the first ones to beat Liberty last year.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. They were. It was a field goal kick.
Yeah.
All right. Next is Virginia Bronco Mendenhall.
Yeah. One of the best names in college football.
Great name. Well, like such a masculine, like every time I think of him, he just like has a 6-pack and like is built. Yeah. That's what I don't really know what he looks like, but that's how I picture him.
Okay.
In my mind. Came from BYU, and kind of is somehow taking what BYU does, which I don't think is anything super special, and like building a really solid program in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I like what I see from this team. I like what I saw last year. They won most of the games they should have won.
They went 5-5 last year. It was actually his worst season since getting to Virginia, which is saying something.
Yeah.
If that's your worst season, I'm okay with that as being your worst season. They got a lot of returning talent, like a lot of teams do, but it's important to keep building on that. So
no, and I think that they can recruit the Washington D.C. area pretty well, which is kind of an area that like doesn't get recruited all that often. And I think that makes a difference for them. So yeah, I mean, they are one of those academic schools, so it does make it a little harder. But I think that his style of coaching helps quite a bit, and the way that he recruits players.
I agree. He's got that program building background coming from a group of 5 teams. So
yeah,
I think Virginia's in a good place. You're happy if you're a Virginia fan right now. They do have one exciting game. They play at BYU at this.
Yeah, that makes sense. That is an exciting
later
game
in the season, I think. So that's kind of fun.
So this next team, I'm not feeling great on. I don't know how
the hell are they the 29th ranked recruiting class and Purdue is 72nd.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
The hell is Pat Narduzzi giving these guys?
Pittsburgh. How? Like, Pittsburgh plays in Heinz Field and an NFL stadium. They never fill it. Their practice facility is the Pittsburgh Steelers practice facility. So
I guess in a way that could be good for recruiting.
I guess, yeah, it can be. But, like, you got to travel miles off campus in order to get to practice. And then you have to travel miles off campus in order to get to the games. Like, as a player, that sounds fucking terrible. Why would you want to subject yourself to it, despite the fact that you maybe get to work out with a rapist and a Twitter streamer, like a Twitch streamer? Like, a
Twitter streamer,
Twitch, whatever. I just don't. It's not something that I don't know.
Yeah, I know how you feel about
how are
this.
they doing this? I am a big.
You ask you okay.
I'm a big supporter of the fact that there's like a undercurrent of people trying to build a stadium at Pitt. It's not going to happen because there's not enough land. And for those of you that troll the message boards, that's something that needs to happen. Continue doing that. But I don't understand how they are this high up in the rankings.
29th. What the hell?
It just doesn't. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense.
And I don't feel good about their prospects of winning games either. Like,
I mean, they've been about 6-6 average for the last 5 years.
So, like, what's our hope? 7-5?
6-6.
Yeah, I mean,
6-6.
Okay.
Let's keep the train going. I feel like Pat Narduzzi's been 6-6 for his entire tenure at.
Yeah, he's a 500 coach. I don't know, man.
He's good for one shock. They're usually like in the division race, like within the ACC at some point. Like, hey, Pitt can still
very
make
early,
the
very
ACC
early. They're like, hey, Pitt has a path, and then they lose.
Yeah.
They have a history, but unfortunately, since they've been in Heinz Field, they have not had a history.
Yeah, they have a history like 40 years ago now, like 70s, 80s history, but nothing recent.
Florida State,
22nd ranked.
I feel better about Florida State than I felt last year. Last year, that program was just full of drama. I think that they need to. I think they need to tell their alumni to fuck the fuck off, because there's no reason that they should have fired. What's his name?
Willie Taggart.
Yeah, there's no reason they should have fired Willie Taggart after one season. I get, like, Mike Norvell was a good coach, but I don't think that Mike Norvell is the savior Jesus of Florida State. So for me,
I thought you were a big Mike Norvell guy.
I am. I'm a fan of Mike Norvell. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that he's the guy that I fire my coach that's been there 1 year and pay him like $80 million.
Fair enough.
In order to get, like, if Nick Saban says, hey, I'm slightly interested in coaching at Florida State, yeah, I'm going to fire the guy that I hired yesterday to get Nick Saban to come coach there. But Mike Norvell is not that guy. I think that he is going to return this program to a winning program. I don't know that they're going to win national championships. I don't know that should be the expectation.
I feel like it should be. It's Florida State. The expectation is competing in the playoffs and
It
on the
should be,
national
but
stage.
they have a significant funding disadvantage to the programs that are competing for the playoffs right now. The money is just not there like it is at Clemson, like it is at Texas A&M, like it is at. I mean, there's a reason that they lost their coach to Texas A&M, and it was money. They weren't willing to pay him.
So you're saying Florida State to the SEC in the next couple of years?
Jesus Christ. No.
They need that money, man.
I guess. All right. So I don't have a ton else to say about Florida State. I have things that I want to say about this next team, so I want to talk about them. Unless you have
That's fine. I have one last thing. I think like we talked about with Georgia Tech's coach, whose name is escaping me, Jeff something. This is kind of the first season we can judge Norvell completely, because last year was his first year as head coach, and it was pandemic, and he didn't get an off season. And I think it's just this is his first year, clean slate. Let's see what you do.
We can start to judge him this year.
Yes.
I don't think that this year is going to be a representation of what Florida State will be under him. I don't think that they're going to be all that great. I think they're going to have a winning record and go to a bowl game.
We should see some signs. Yeah, definitely. Bowl game would help.
Yeah. All right. North Carolina, my pick.
You've been waiting. This is the only reason that you were willing to do the ACC is for this team right here.
Absolutely. North Carolina is my pick to win the ACC.
14th ranked recruiting class.
14th ranked recruiting class. I think Clemson is definitely going to be the team that they have to beat. Are they in the same division? I don't remember if they're in the same division or not.
They might be.
I mean, I think they are, actually. Which, if they beat Clemson, they're in the ACC championship.
That's if they win everything else, and
yeah.
Which they should do. They should run the table.
They should.
They are clearly the second best team in this conference.
Yes. I have their schedule pulled up, so
you can run through that. I don't know why I can't find.
So they start the season at Florida or at Virginia Tech.
They are in two different divisions.
Okay, so this could be really interesting. Okay, so here's what their schedule looks like. They start the season at Virginia Tech. Then they host Georgia State, so right. I think they win both those games. Yeah. I think they then beat Virginia at home. Then they have to go play Georgia Tech at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That could be an interesting crowd, but I think it also means that you're going to see some North Carolina fans there. Then they host Duke at home.
The first difficult game isn't till Miami, so they should be 6-0 rolling in.
They 100% should be 6-0 going into the Miami game. They should beat Miami, in my opinion.
They've owned Miami the last couple of years. They've had Miami's number.
Well, not this past year. I think they lost. No, they lost to Florida.
No, they beat the shit out of Miami.
They should beat Florida. They should beat Miami. Then they have Notre Dame. They're at Notre Dame, and I think that's a tough game.
That's the first big one.
That's a tough game, but I think they win it. I think they win it.
I guess that's really the only big one because they don't have Clemson in the regular season.
They don't have Clemson. So I mean, you've got 2 games that you need to win.
If they don't make the ACC championship game, I think this is a disappointing season.
I agree. If they don't make the ACC championship, this is probably the most disappointing season in North Carolina history.
I don't know about that. It's definitely a step back from what the trajectory was. I don't know if we can say it's the most disappointing. And
I would say it's disappointing to me as a North Carolina football stan.
Okay.
I really so the thing is with this team, it's going to get better. Like this is their best team yet, and they are getting better. They're pulling in for the 2022 class. I think they've got like 3 5-stars right now or something like that.
Mac Brown and those Air Jordans.
It's. I mean, he's recruiting well, and he's returning the team to some level of prominence. And honestly, in this conference, it's Clemson and nobody else. So you beat Clemson, and you are in the playoffs.
100%. If they're undefeated, I would probably even grant them like one loss, and then if they lose at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And then they're what? They would be 11-1 going into
and then they beat Clemson, who is 12-0. Yep.
I think they're in the playoffs at that point. Yep. I think that. Yeah, I agree. Because they're already going to be preseason. They're probably has the AP poll come out for this fall yet?
I don't know if it has yet. I think it comes out.
But they're going to be like a top 10, top 12 team in the preseason ranking. So
yes,
they're going to be in that playoff conversation for the majority of the season.
Yeah. So the next team do you have anything else to say on North Carolina other than that?
I do not.
North Carolina podcast now.
Nope.
Go Heels.
Dark horse playoff team.
So Miami, for some, it doesn't mean anything to me that they pulled in 5-star recruits and have the number 11 ranked recruiting class, because they've had awesome recruiting classes like the last 20 years and they haven't really done anything with them.
I could become the head coach of Miami and get 3 fucking 5-star.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could be co-head coaches, and we could probably win 8 games a season.
Probably.
Because they win off talent. They don't have to develop these players, because they get talent because they're Miami and they have a name. So
and they're in
honestly,
Miami, Florida.
I don't think Miami is a factor at this point. Sure,
they're the third best team. I would say they're the third best team.
Clearly the third best team. So yeah,
I think so. I did just say North Carolina is kind of a dark horse playoff team, but if you want to go super super dark horse, and I'll make the argument, but I think Miami's a super super dark horse playoff potential team, and it's because of De'Aaron King, and I think De'Aaron King he has Heisman potential for this upcoming season if everything goes right.
He doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If everything goes right, he could win the Heisman, and this team could be 11-1 ACC championship game. Like,
I agree.
They could be North Carolina just as easily.
They could. Yeah, I'm not saying they can't, but they need to play better.
I don't have as much faith in it. I think
same.
It's just because I have no faith in Manny Diaz as a head coach. But
also same.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
but I do have faith in De'Aaron King.
Do you want to pull up?
I do. They do have. Miami does open the season versus Alabama at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That's pretty interesting. And they also they play Appalachian State in the non-conference, so it's another.
What if they beat Alabama and lost to App State? And then App State goes undefeated. And Miami doesn't lose another game besides App State. Like, what happens? What I mean, obviously they're not gonna.
Obviously, Appalachian State's not gonna be in the playoff.
No,
they won't put Appalachian State in the playoff.
Wow,
you just blew my mind, Cody. They beat Alabama, then lose to Appalachian State. Huh.
That would be the most Miami thing. Like, I can see that happening 100%.
I mean, it's honestly, I don't see them beating Alabama. I think it's less likely that they beat Alabama than it is.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I could totally see it happening. Like, we got the turnover chain. We're winning games, and then you go and lose to Pitt.
They don't get enough respect for actually like starting the turnover chain. They need to get some more respect. Everybody copied them. Miami was the one.
They don't get respect because they didn't fucking finish. And they lost to Pitt that year.
Goddamn Pitt.
I was rooting for them.
I was too. I would very, very much like Miami to be like a powerhouse program.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But the
uniforms, the swagger, love it.
All right. Do you want to move on to Clemson?
Yeah. Finals cool. There's not really much to talk about here. We all know about Clemson.
Yeah.
Fifth, they had the 5th ranked recruiting class, but it's still Clemson and it's still Dabo.
Yeah.
And it's still DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
So they've got Georgia, which is a starting game. I think that's going to be an interesting game. It's in Charlotte, so it's essentially a home game.
Yeah. Except for Charlotte's in North Carolina and Clemson's in South Carolina.
It's essentially a home game. And then you've got South Carolina State, so that's a win. Georgia Tech should be.
I feel like Georgia. Is there any way Georgia's closer to Charlotte than Clemson is? Is that even a possibility?
Actually, I think they're probably right about halfway in between. If I'm being honest,
I don't know why I got stuck on this, but
no, I think you could be right because considering where Athens is in comparison, I don't know.
Just continue. I'm looking it up because I want to know.
So Georgia Tech, they have NC State at NC State. Then they play Boston College at home. They're at Syracuse. I think for some reason that's a sneaky game. I think Syracuse, for some reason, could like just decide not to play any other games, and then somehow they're going to play Clemson really well because like the last 3 times that Clemson has played Syracuse, they ended up playing.
Are you really trying to make the argument that Syracuse is a really like they could actually win that game?
Yeah, I actually think that they could give them a tough time. Not because of talent or any level of coaching, but simply because of the fact that they do it every single time they play Clemson.
Okay.
The year they won the national championship, the only team that Clemson lost to was Syracuse, and Syracuse had like 1 win that year, and it was to Clemson.
I'm pretty sure that's the year Syracuse went like 10-3, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so. It was under Dino Babers.
Yeah, and I think he went 10-3 in his second year, and that was the year that they beat Clemson.
Yeesh.
It's the only year that they've had more than. It was 2018. They went 10-3. That was the year Clemson won the national championship.
Okay, well then I guess I'm wrong. But then in 2019, they came within a field goal of beating Clemson, and they weren't good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I don't know if they played each other last year, but
I feel like they did. And I feel like it was a close game, but no, I'm thinking when Syracuse played North Carolina. I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Because that was a close game, wasn't it?
Well, anyways, so after Syracuse, they're at Pitt. Then they host Florida State. They're at Louisville. Ooh, they get UConn at home. Then they've got Wake Forest. They're at South Carolina. And then it's the ACC championship game.
Yep. Which they will more than likely be in.
Yes, I agree.
It'd honestly be a shock if they weren't in there.
I think it's got to be Syracuse and North Carolina in the championship game. And I think it's going to be a good game.
I agree. I think it'll be a lot of offense in that game. A lot of offense.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm pulling up the Syracuse versus Clemson. Yeah, so here's the thing is Clemson and Syracuse played each other in 2020. And through the first half, the score was 17-14 with Syracuse hanging on. I feel like
that might have been like the first game after Trevor Lawrence was ruled out.
No.
Was that like DJ Uiagalelei's first game?
Yeah. No, Boston College was the first one was the second game that DJ started because he started at Clemson for the first time and then played Boston College after that. But yeah, so and then through the third they were 21-7 or they were 24-17. So I mean Syracuse kept it close. For some reason they play Clemson well. I don't know why, but they do.
It's the only other team that has orange, and they gotta.
Yeah, they gotta. Maybe
they are the orange.
Maybe the Clemson players get confused and play for Syracuse on accident.
We're not going to talk about the fact that the Miami Hurricanes' secondary color is orange.
All right. Okay. Well,
Or that Virginia's second color is orange.
It's a lot of orange. I like orange. I guess I'm an ACC fan now.
Are there any other oranges?
All right. So thank you all for watching. If you liked our content, please like and subscribe down below, or follow us on Twitter at 4andlongwinded.
Definitely do that.
Please like us, share us, comment, whatever. We'd appreciate it.
Check out our video on Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC and Big 12 and the wider landscape. We'll check that out.